I wanted to talk about a controversy happening within the gaming community that I think sets a horrible precedent for pretty much everything else. So even if you're not a gamer, I think this is important because I'm not even a gamer, but we'll get into that later, okay? Steam and itchio. Itchio is a market for indie games, so any indie game developer can put their games on this site, right? They have been hit with this pretty big NSFW ban that I think does not set a very good precedent. I think this is like textbook censorship, if anything. So let's read the statements given by these companies, alright? This is from itchio. We have de-indexed all adult NSFW content from our browse and search pages. Recently, we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some content hosted on itchio due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itchio before being banned back in April. The organization Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itchio, directing concerns to our payment processors about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. And if you don't know No Mercy, it was a game that was getting controversy because it was a game about being your mom? I don't remember. I don't remember what the game was about, but it was a pretty nasty premise. However, I might say something a little controversial here, but I watched gameplay of the game because when people were describing it, I was expecting like it was gonna be like a first-person POV. You control their hands, like you physically have to rip off the person's clothes or something. Like I really thought it was like a very in-depth gameplay POV of like assault, but it was just a visual novel. And I know I probably, like, some people might be mad at my take here, but I watched it and I was like, that's it. The content itself, like what it's about, nasty, right? But people were describing something way worse. Like the image in my head was way worse than what I saw on the screen. I don't know, because I'm gonna get into that in a bit about like the fiction versus reality argument that arises from this sort of stuff, because I'm kind of on the like, you know, I just think it's fiction. Like even though it's messed up, it is what it is. We'll get into that in a second though. Let's continue reading. Our ability to process payments is critical for every creator on our platform. To ensure that we can continue to operate and provide a marketplace for all developers, we must prioritize our relationship with our payment partners and take immediate steps towards compliance. Damn. Literally 1984, bruh. Payment processors. This is like Visa and MasterCard. They are supposed to be the middleman between consumer and merchant. But as far as I'm aware, the middleman usually doesn't say anything. They just are like, all right, and hand the money over. Why do they have a say in this? That's crazy. They're just like, we have to be compliant, you guys. We're sorry, like we have no other choice. I'm not even mad at itchio because they didn't do anything wrong. They're just doing what they can to keep their site afloat. But it's insane that they have this much power, bro. Part of this review will see some pages being permanently removed from itchio. That's directly going to affect people's livelihoods. I just feel like it's a little ridiculous to suddenly withhold all power and control from the consumer. It's not the consumer's decision anymore. Why is the merchant, not even merchant, why is the middleman making the decision for the consumer? I completely disagree with that, because it's not like these are like weapons or like physical objects that they're preventing from being sold. These are games. I don't care what you think, bro. No one's actually getting harmed in this. Oh my god, am I gonna get canceled, bro? Am I gonna get fucking canceled for this take? I know it's a very controversial take. People really vehemently push on the idea that like these games are harmful in the real world, and I do agree and disagree, because ultimately I don't think anyone who partakes in like fictional degeneracy is a real life degenerate. I've read multiple messed up stories on my channel and stuff, and I always say as a disclaimer, none of this is real, just remember that. And I stand by that, because for example, me as like a chick reading crazy messed up fanfics about like anime men abusing each other or whatever, like I see them as like little dolls. They're not real. I can live vicariously through these stories and know that like I would never support this sort of behavior I'm reading about, these actions I'm reading about in real life. But then when it comes to fiction, I mean, I just really don't see it as much of an issue. I do think, though, there are some exceptions where it's like, all right, this is fucked up. This is kind of gross. I do think every store has a right to pull a product from its shelves. if it really wants to. I don't think that's a big deal. But the thing is, this is a blanket ban that they're doing at this point. It's gonna lead into something more. Like, okay, let me read the statement from Valve before I get too ahead of myself. We were recently notified that certain games on Steam may violate the rules and standards set forth by our payment processors and their related card networks and banks. As a result, we are retiring those games from being sold on the Steam store because the loss of payment methods would prevent customers from being able to purchase other titles and game content on Steam. So, like I said, developers' livelihoods being affected, and these payment processors are kind of pressuring them to do this, otherwise they're just gonna remove themselves entirely. You can't even purchase regular SFW games because of a few fringe shovelware like $5 games that like have 10 sales. Because let's be honest, these games aren't even that prevalent, in my opinion. The whole No Mercy controversy, I wouldn't have even heard of it if not for the controversy. It's the streisand effect. If you make a fuss about something, you're just gonna spread it even more. Because I feel like most of these games that there's this outrage over, they wouldn't have even been in the public eye. Most of these games don't make that many sales, they're hella cheap, they're usually bad. They're usually like shoddily made, they don't have that much effort put into them, they're just here to like fulfill an extreme niche. I also feel like it's kind of bad to generalize the entire gaming community as if like they're really into these games. I think most people are outraged because this is going to extend to other more popular normal games just because they have like an NSW subject matter. Because there's nuance in this sort of stuff too. Not all of it is for gratification. Sometimes they might tackle these subjects as part of a story. They don't display them as something being good. For example, they tried to go after Detroit Become Human. Now who's they? Who's they? Who are you talking about, Zarina? I'll tell you right now. Because obviously the payment processors did not come to this decision on their own. Somebody was telling them this. And who was telling them this? Collective Shout. Who's Collective Shout? Who is that? They are a far-right conservative Christian feminist group trying to push their agenda. Far-right Christian nationalists? What do you mean? They're a feminist group. Not really. Actually, when you do research into these guys, you can see they have multiple ties to other far-right groups, other Christian groups, and if you look at their following list, they're following the Daily Wire, Charlie Kirk, they're following all the conservative pundits. Now, as far as I'm aware, most feminists aren't usually far right. That's just not how it is. As a feminist myself, I can confidently say that's not usually what we generally believe in. Let's make no mistake here. These are extremists. Say they are feminists because they do have feminist ideals. They are extremists, like extreme feminists, radical feminists, if you will. So let's read a letter written to the payment processors from Collective Shout. Let's see what they were yapping about. So they said, open letter to payment processors profiting from Grape, Incense, and Club Penguin games on Steam. Now, I know, the censorship is very annoying. Don't blame me, blame YouTube, okay? I don't like saying this shit either, but it is what it is. Anyways, they listed all the bigwigs of PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, Discover, Japan Credit Bureau. They added everyone, okay? I'm just gonna sum it up. We are writing to request that you cease processing payments on gaming platforms which host pretty nasty games. In April, we exposed the sale of Grape simulation game No Mercy on both Steam and itchio gaming platforms. In the game, players assume the persona of a man, who does really nasty shit, okay? However, we have since discovered hundreds of other games featuring grape picking, incense, and morning, and Club Penguin abuse on both Steam and itchio. Our research has shown many of these games would breach Australian classification laws. Most of the content found within the games, including the graphics and the developers' descriptions, are too distressing for us to make public. Okay, I agree. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and defend these games because, like, they are nasty. If they are for gratification and stuff, I do think that's disgusting. But I don't... I don't agree with them, but I also don't agree with censorship. Because, as I said earlier, you don't actually know, like, which of these games is actually intended to be consumed that way or not. I'm not gonna sit here and say that these games aren't misogynistic, but anyways, back to Collective Shout. So they wrote this letter to Steam, and it worked. They did end up pulling hundreds of games, and they're not done with their crusade. They want to pull more and more games. And the thing is, I don't think anyone is weeping over the loss of these games necessarily, but people are worried, rightfully, that this is going to extend into other games that are much more innocuous being taken down. Censorship, whether you like it or not, is a very slippery slope. As soon as one thing is banned, this thing can be banned. Anything can be banned. People are adults. They have the power to avoid these games if they want to. They should have the choice to choose whether they want to purchase a game like this or not. But banning it and completely just making it unavailable to purchase, you know, I think that sets a pretty bad precedent. And you know, I was saying Collective Shout is like a far-right organization because if you look at the founder, Melinda Tankard Reist, I don't know if I pronounced that right, I don't care. She is also the founder of another organization that is a pro-Christian, pro-life, anti-LGBT organization disguised as a feminist operation called Women's Forum Australia. It is a conservative think tank established in 2005. It has also been described as focusing on anti-trans campaigning and having links to far-right politics, with members campaigning against abortion access, transgender rights, and promoting conspiracy theories around Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi thing is crazy, like I don't even know where that came from. But before y'all start calling it some liberal feminist BS, I will say, pro-life, that is not feminist behavior, bro. 99% of feminists, I feel as if they're pro-choice. If you are pro-life, like, I'm not gonna get into it in this video, but I will say that is not a very feminist position. These are far-right people. They have connections to other groups who have strong religious affiliations, other sorts of anti-LGBT stuff, which you never know what they might consider to be inappropriate and should be removed. These people are crazy. I completely agree with like 99% of the people who are outraged at this. This is a slippery slope right here. This is gonna start affecting normal games. I think we can all agree that censorship will lead to anything you enjoy being at risk. Like, here's the thing. I do not like the corn industry. I don't usually enjoy pornographic material. I disagree with it. The internet has made corn so prevalent that I genuinely believe it's rotted so many brains. But that's a different toilet for another day. I like popcorn way better. Fuck corn. But in this case, in this context, this is more than just, oh, you know, we don't like corn, you know, this sets dangerous expectations or fulfills dangerous fantasies, which I agree. They can be nasty games. These games, some of them do promote weird shit, but I have to say something so controversial, you guys. Don't hate me for it. Do not hate me for it. It's fiction. I know. This is a very touchy subject. I feel, even though I don't think it should be, but if you start banning fictional pieces of work because it depicts something that happens in real life that's not very good, then this can lead to anything being taken down. This can lead to anything you enjoy being targeted. I mean, they tried to go after Detroit Become Human, bro. Stop video game Detroit Become Human depicting Club Penguin and violence against women being sold in Australia. Why? I have not played Detroit Become Human myself, but I'm aware of it. I had a friend who really loved that game, and from what I saw, I've never heard of it promoting that sort of stuff. From what I'm aware, it showed that stuff in the game and portrayed it as bad. It's literally on your side. Why are you trying to remove it just because it showed it? They can tackle these subjects with nuance. Context matters. You cannot just have a blanket ban on stuff just because it depicts it. You can't pussyfoot around these subjects. They occur in real life. If someone wants to put commentary about it in their game, they should totally be allowed to without the payment processors breathing down their neck telling Steam, you better take this game down, otherwise we're gonna pull our services from your shop. Whether you agree or disagree with the games, I just don't think this sets a very good precedent, because I don't think payment processors should have any say in what we are purchasing. It's my money, bitch. It shouldn't be, oh, can I buy that? Can I please get your permission to buy this? It's my money. It's your money. It's your dog's money. Considering the fact that this group is comprised of like conservative Catholics who are like pro-life, anti-LGBT, you can bet your ass this is gonna set a precedent that any game containing anything that they disagree with personally, it can just spin it, put some buzzwords on it, say, this harms women, bam, banned. You know what I mean? I'm so anti-censorship because this is not like a social media site banning you or anything like that. But this payment processors threatening Steam and itchio, telling them you have to do what we say, you have to comply with what we want. Otherwise, we're just gonna leave and throw you guys to the dogs. It's gonna leave you in financial ruin. It's gonna ruin your company, your services. You have to comply with what we want. Is that not censorship? And I know, it might not be that deep. It might not be that serious because it's just video games. Maybe you're not a gamer. Me personally, I don't play games that often, as much as I did when I was younger, right? But I don't like the precedent this sets for payment processors having this much power because that's bad. I thought we lived in a free market, huh? I thought we lived in a free market. Like, they also try to go after Grand Theft Auto. The name of the game is Grand Theft Auto, bro. I don't know why do people get outraged so much over Grand Theft Auto? It's literally the name of a crime. Did you expect a game called Grand Theft Auto to be about sunshine and rainbows? No, you get to live vicariously through these digital characters in like this open world. And the thing is, Grand Theft Auto is not even about the stuff that they claimed Grand Theft Auto to be. They said it was like degrading against women and stuff. The thing is, Grand Theft Auto is not comprised of like stand-up people. You are not playing as like a stand-up Samaritan. Second of all, that's not the point of the game anyways. The point, like, the game has a story. The game has a very long story to play through, and the open world stuff is optional. You don't even have to do that stuff. And most of the time, people are not playing the game so that they can beat up the virtual prostitutes. They're playing the game so they can just fuck around. Or they're playing the story, and they're running over cops. They're running over male characters too, if you didn't know. I just think it's kind of silly to call Grand Theft Auto something like that. You could just argue it promotes crime, but in reality, no one who's playing Grand Theft Auto is like, I should do this in real life. Because like I said, it's fiction. And they got it pulled from Australian shelves, so as you can see, they're not just here combating the shovelware $5 games, visual novels, where a shittily drawn anime girl is, I don't know. I don't play these, I've never heard of these. No one has really heard of like 99% of the games that they removed off the store. I just don't really see like why it matters so much in the grand scheme of things when we have like real life issues affecting women on a global scale. It breaks my heart when I look at like the Middle East, when I look at countries like Afghanistan, where women are essentially banned from being in public. It is ridiculous how much they hate us and don't see us as human beings in so many parts of the world. And I just feel like behavior like this, focusing on like games and stuff, if anything, is gonna push dudes even further away from your cause. Most people see it as a form of censorship. You can disagree with the existence of these games, but having them taken down and banned and then treating these people for being shocked at it like they're criminals, like they're nasty people for being outraged at it is not necessarily a good PR move for the cause. Just saying, because Collective Shout, from what I've researched, they have done some good things. Many things that I agree with. But this one is one where I'm like, I think it falls flat. This ain't it, chief. I think you oughta take another approach to this, or maybe just disengage from this entirely. It seems like smells like virtue signaling to me. I just think there's much bigger issues at hand than shitty little visual novels, you know? I think most people can agree that these games are degenerate, yes, but they are fiction. I do think if there's any space for degeneracy, it would be in fiction because it's fictional. And I'm a feminist and I'm saying that, okay? I just don't like the generalizations. I've never liked them. I don't like the generalizations from Collective Shout either, saying that everyone who is mad at this is like a screeching, raging incel. But I also don't like the people who are outraged, generalization women as a whole, because of a fringe extremist group's decisions and thoughts. Let's just quit it with this shit, man. Oh my god, everyone stop fighting! But yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say on the subject. I just think it's ridiculous that censorship is being promoted and celebrated amongst some people, especially feminists. You know, I do think it's ironic that these women who are proclaimed feminists are celebrating censorship, because women have historically been censored many, many times. We have been erased from history. Many of women's contributions erased from history, censored. This is not a very feminist ideal, in my opinion, to be celebrated celebrating censorship. And I know it's like, it's corn, some of it is corn, but this is going to extend into things that you and I can casually enjoy. It sets a bad precedent. Whether you like it or not, you know, I will still fight for people's rights to purchase whatever they want and indulge in whatever they want, so long as no real life person is being harmed. Are real crimes being committed because of these games being sold? No, I don't think so. It's just people indulging in really nasty shit, but it's fictional. Am I gonna get canceled for this? I hope not. I only have 1K subscribers. Give me a break. I'm a very small channel. Don't cancel me, okay? Okay. Anyways, hope I articulated my point. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And I'll see you on the flip side. Peace!
Bye-bye!